Welcome to Dating Log, the podcast that records the ups and downs of dating in your 30s. I'm your host, Wyndham Juno, and this is episode 11, Not Sacrificing the Single Life. Jayme is a guy who has been exclusively dating in his 30s and as an expat. In this episode, we talk about how breakups and short relationships are all a part of the dating cycle. And we ask a big question. Does getting into a relationship have to mean giving up all the great things about being single? Listen to find out what he thinks.
Okay, well, I'm Jayme. I'm 37 years old. I live in Amsterdam. I'm heterosexual. And yeah, I started dating mostly after my 30s, to be honest. I think in the first part of my life, I was very focused on partying, and also there was more of the scene in the city where I grew up in Brazil. And yeah, it has been an interesting journey in this for me, and I feel I learned a lot the past couple of years.
So an interesting journey.
No, I think first of all about the not dating so much. I think in yeah, I think in my earlier years I was a bit of a shy person and not so quite insecure. So I was mostly going out clubbing and ending up in hookups, and that was more of what my romantic life was being about. I've always been into sad music or things like that, and then like I was a bit into going into friend zone, like a bit of what in the 90s or 20s would be classified as an emo or whatever, or indie or whatever. But I think in that sense, with the people that I really liked, I was always ending up a bit into the friend zone, and then I would go out clubbing and end up into more short-term relationships. So that's what things were for me like up until my 25-ish, 27, 25-ish, and that's when I had a first long-term relationship of about 1 year with a person from abroad, back in São Paulo, which was much older. And I think up until that point of life, I was also the people that I would meet would be mostly older, like 10 years older or so. But anyway, I think after some time, I concluded that I felt that that was not that was not going to work, and that was about the time that I was looking to move to the Netherlands. Yeah, that's how I ended up here and started exploring dating in this different environment. Yeah, here during my studies, I became good friends with a girl that I was much into, and we ended up getting into a relationship for almost 3 years. So also my first years in the Netherlands, I didn't get to know much about how dating was like here. I think only after we had a very hard breakup, I think we were just very different. And even though, I don't know, I think we had very similar values, but we started realizing that we had very different interests about what we like to do. And at some point that became unbearable. We split, and I started going to apps. Anyway, I think that's been a bit of a long detour, but I think apps experience, it was a bit painful for me in the beginning. Or at least I think with this lack of experience with how dating works in first place, or what kind of communication you're supposed to use, or like how long your sentences should be. I think now looking back, I realized that I was being quite absurd sometimes, of like sending romantic compliments or from the moment that you get a match with a person, and I think through time you realize how creepy or unaware of of things one can be. And yeah, actually, through time, I started valuing the fact that I went through this experience and have been in this experience, because I think I've started learning more about people, not only on a romantic way, but I think more about communication and about being more empathetic about other people's feelings.
Which apps are you using?
I'm using Bumble at the moment, and before that, I used Tinder for some time and Happen for some time. And yeah, I find funny how they seem to have very different publics, and I don't even understand how that ends up happening, probably through the algorithms. But Bumble, for some reason, which I thought wasn't possible, seems to have people more like-minded or more attractive to me, and that's why I've been using it for the last 6 months.
Have you been exclusively dating since your relationship ended when you were about 30?
No, I've been in a few relationships. I'm sorry, I think that was a long-term relationship that was worth mentioning. But other than that, I went into a 1 year long relationship with someone in the Netherlands that didn't, yeah, it just never really flew, or just, I think we never felt engaged enough to take it some steps further, or like feel really exclusive to each other. And yeah, other than that, a couple of more shorter term relationships. I just had the breakup 1 month ago after 3 months together with someone. And we actually didn't meet through apps. We met analogically in a festival. And
Okay. And what happened there?
no, it was actually a neighborhood market or festival or something like that. And I went randomly after work there, looking to just see what was going on. And they were trying to promote the local shops of this neighborhood, which was a very nicely organized event. And I went there on my own because I just like, yeah, exploring the city a bit. Even though I've been living here for a long time, it's always a bit of why not. And yeah, actually, I was very happy that they had lots of free goodies. And then this lady and her group were standing next to me, and we did some eye contact, and they asked if there was space in my table. We started chatting, swapped numbers, and then yeah, some 3 days later we met. And then yeah, actually we met quite frequently in the first weeks. I think we've had a very good, yeah, connection, especially, and it might sound a bit generic, but I think that's also one thing that the dating got me to learn more about myself, was this type of affection that you need, which is something that I had never really stopped to think about. And I realized that I really like physical contact in terms of being hugged, or like being, yeah, being close to each other, which is something that sometimes in other cultures is not so common. I think in Latin, maybe it's a stereotypical thing, but in Brazil, maybe we're more into that. And yeah, I felt that from start we were very close to each other, walking, hugged to each other, and yeah, I just felt very comfortable from start. But then, on other hands, I think gradually I started realizing that our conversations weren't so fulfilling for me, or sometimes a bit annoying, about, or at least I would feel annoyed at how self-centered they felt to me, like that it was a bit of a monologue. So I might be a bit monologuish now.
It's okay.
But
This episode's about you and your dating
yeah, so I'm
experience. You're allowed to
excused to talk
monologue.
about myself in this occasion. But if this was a date, yeah, then I think that would become a bit tiring. And that's how I felt a bit after some time, thinking, okay, if this is going to be my life from now on, maybe this is not for me.
Yeah, I'm curious how was this the first time you've broken up with someone, like actively?
No, not this case exactly, but I think in the past few years, I think I think in most of the cases I have been the one, after some time, noticing, okay, this is not what I'm looking for, and then go through a breakup. And usually I've been the person breaking up, and yeah, I always feel shit about it after, yeah, causing someone to cry.
How do you do the breakup?
Yeah, I've been trying to find out what is the right timing for that, because it's this last time, for example, we went out for dinner, and I thought, okay, if I break up now during dinner, I'm gonna be an asshole. And we had agreed we were going to sleep at her house. I thought, if I break up when we arrive at her house, I'm gonna be an asshole. So, and sorry about the language, but I just, I just could. I kept thinking, okay, what is the nice or most considerate way of doing this? But there's no right way. At least I concluded I was while going to get our bikes. So as soon as we were getting to unlock, maybe many people use this strategy, but I just interrupted her unlocking the bike. Say, sorry, I'm not going to be able to join you. But yeah, in other situations, I didn't. I don't know. I delayed too long, and I left it for next morning, for example, and I felt like a very bad person for having pretended that nothing was in my mind. Or yeah, or you schedule a date with someone and you say right away as soon as the person arrives that you're breaking up. I feel like I wasted the time of the person making her come to just be done or to do it by phone. So I think a short conclusion would be that there's no nice way of doing it.
Have you scheduled a date with someone just to break up with them?
Yes, I hope. I hope not. No, but I mean, we had been going out I had 5 dates or something, and I had been thinking a lot about with myself, okay, is this really going to work? And yeah, I don't know what. I don't know if that's not a nice thing to do, but I just thought that doing it online, of course, that yeah, doing it online is also maybe equally considerate because you're not taking one's time. I don't know. There's just no right or wrong with these things, I guess.
No, I don't think there is, but I think you bring up a good point that breaking up is also part of dating, especially when you've invested some time in someone and then you reach a point like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work, or maybe this person isn't for me.
Yeah, I know it certainly isn't. I think on how to digest it. I think especially on the maybe not so much on being dumped, but getting rejected after a first date and getting a message. I don't know. A couple of times I received a message saying, "Yeah, okay, after first date, say this is I don't see it romantic in any way," or "Yeah, I just don't feel." Which is, I think nowadays I understand that it's a completely, yeah, actually very considerate. I find it more considerate. At least I feel it more considerate than ghosting uh, on someone. It used to hurt me a lot because you might want more details about it and ask yourself what is not romantic, or what could you please elaborate on what. I wouldn't ask one to explain that, but I would be maybe out of my own insecurities, I would be trying to find out what did I do wrong, or what could I have done differently. Well, I think in practice, there's nothing for many things. There's just nothing that we can do differently, right? It's just it is just a matter. It's nothing really personal. Often, it's just a matter of whether you were the right fit for a person or not.
Yeah. I was going to ask how you deal with rejection.
Yeah, I dealt miserably, and and I'm not gonna say that I deal well because you might see me crying, hugging a street post
That's
in a.
allowed.
No, I'm not. I don't mean now, but I mean in a. I think we can try to shield ourselves and I don't know. I think I try to believe that I learned a bit better nowadays through this having gone through the dating process in this past years. But I think it always hurts when you create, I don't want to say high expectations, but when you feel very connected with someone probably that's expectations. The connection is a generic word, but I think you, yeah, you think that you liked each other deeply. And anyway, I think I don't need to describe rejection. I think anyone knows how it feels.
Have you been ghosted like unexpectedly before, or let's say since you've been dating?
Yeah, I think there's different levels of ghosting. I think
Oh, tell me.
no, I know, or I've seen friends having a person who is dating them for a long period, literally disappearing, which I can only imagine how hurting that can be. But getting ghosted in apps, yeah, I think that happens very frequently. I've been through that many times, and I've asked friends, at least being quite revolted from my side, thinking, how can one do that? But then asking people around me, they would say, well, I wouldn't go through the effort of having a confrontation. Yeah, that made me stop and think about it, and made me, yeah, also respect their position about that. And I understand that confrontations are not always easy. I mean, not everyone wants to go through that. Yeah, nowadays, I don't take it personal to get ghosted, but I don't do that to others, or at least I try not to.
What are you looking for in your life right now with regards to dating?
I feel very silly to, at my age, 37, say I don't know what I'm looking for, but uh, I maybe I should be happy about that, because I think sometimes we have certainties in our life that can be, yeah, big mistakes. I don't know. I think sometimes it's better not to know what you want, and yeah, I just, yeah, at the moment I'm not really looking for someone. I'm just, yeah, I feel that I have been in a bit of a stressful period at work, and also reflecting on whether I might want to move to another country, or yeah, or about whether my or about whether I would like to be some time closer to my family, because yeah, I have some family members that are not, yeah, doing very well health-wise at the moment. But anyway, I think because of these personal considerations, I've been questioning myself a lot whether it would make sense to rope anyone into this mess, or like to commit to something while you don't really have the proper mind space for a quality relationship, or you might not be in the best shape of yourself mind wise. I don't know.
Then I'm going to ask the hard question. Why are you even dating right now if you have all this stuff kind of hanging on your shoulder and you might be moving and you don't have the headspace?
No, it's a hard but fair question, and yeah, I just don't know what the alternative would be, like to sit on my hands. And I don't know. I just I think I find dating interesting in any case. I think talking to new people and talking to strangers um, is regardless an interesting experience. And yeah, but maybe there are other ways to do it in an adult life, in other than through a romantic relationship. There's many ways of hearing other stories and creating a connection. But yeah, of course, like anyone, I have sexual or romantic needs, and yeah, I I think I think I find it difficult to. I don't feel lonely if I'm on my without a partner for a long period, and I don't mind doing things on my own. So I don't feel that I need company, or I'm looking for company. Uh, but yeah, I do I do feel the need of affection and feeling, yeah, appreciated by someone, and especially being an expat. I think, or I'm probably not an expat anymore, but or whatever you call it. But being living abroad and having no family around I think especially when you're in your 30s, many of your friends start moving into a more serious life and moving to other cities, and life, you can find yourself doing nothing on a Friday or Saturday, and there's plenty of things that one could be doing. But yeah, I just didn't. I just didn't go through a process of. I just didn't put the effort into finding what to do with my time other than going out to bars or going out clubbing and socializing. Or maybe the answer is just that I like socializing, and then as a collateral effect, you end up dating. But why would I go into apps? I don't know. Probably I shouldn't.
You mentioned, yeah, some friends like in their 30s and, moving and settling down and stuff. Out of your social circles and your friend groups, are are you the only single one, or do you have friends who are also dating? Like, where do you fit into that?
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few in my circle who are actively dating at the moment. Yeah, I think most of my friends especially after COVID, accelerated the seriousness of their relationships, and either had a kid or moved to the countryside, or both, not necessarily in this order. And yeah, suddenly life became very different than what it was before, which is, yeah, I don't complain about it. That's of course that's how life should be, and things should change. And yeah, I think since then I felt a bigger, probably I felt a bigger urge of not of finding someone, but of going to dates if I'm not going out, yeah, to a bar with a group of friends or things like that. Maybe that actually means finding company, but I didn't put a lot of thought on that before. But yeah, so most of my friends nowadays are married, and my few friends who are single, yeah, so some of them either are too busy to be, or claim to be too busy to be dating, or they are taking this posture, which maybe I should be doing, or supposedly I should be doing, of accepting that they don't have mind space to be dating at the moment, so they simply don't do it at all. And yeah, and some others, they are, well, I think the others just don't speak about it. I think guys might be a bit less outspoken about it, or at least my friends are not very outspoken about that, about how their dating life is going.
What is it that you like about dating?
Yeah, I like the fact that you get, well, of course that depends on who the person is, but you get for a part of your life, or for some moment in your life, assuming that the relationship is not going to last. Sorry, I put it too many disclaimers, but yeah, what I like about dating is that for a period or a short period in your life, you get to see a lot about the life of another person, or one shares a lot or takes you into their reality for, yeah, for a period. Yeah, I always value that one can, yeah, is willing to, yeah, to share a piece of their life with you, even if it's briefly. You get to know about one's siblings, and you get to exchange ideas, and you get to learn about the what the path of this person was, and up until then. Yeah, I think you just get to learn a lot about different perspectives, or how other people see the world, or things that are important to you, or how they feel about things that are important to you also get to learn a lot about yourself, or at least you learn about what you appreciate and what you like, and in some way you learn about what you can learn about what your own habits, which of your own habits can be annoying or appreciated to others. I don't know, there's an infinite things that you can learn through getting intimate with others, even if it's through a single meeting.
Yeah. Are there any things that have stuck out to you that you've learned about yourself through dating?
Maybe not being too negative, or too shooting myself on the feet. I don't know if that's the term in English, but
Yeah. Shooting yourself in the foot.
on the foot. Okay. So yeah, I think I've often been very self-critical, and I think in a date that definitely quickly backfires at you. Or and I think when you're hanging out with, or when you're dating with people who are open, and I don't know, tell you that you yeah, I think some people would help in that process, and say and tell you if something that you're doing is not helpful for yourself, or and things like that. So I just feel that maybe I might be sounding negative and self-critical in this call itself, but I think I've learned to be more positive, or try to present myself, or try to put my best face out there, which actually turns out to not even be my best face, but just be my normal face. And it's just that you, in some situations, you might be inclined to be more negative than you should be. I think that's one of the things that I've tried to take away out from dates. I think also trying to generally be more emotionally responsible. I don't know if that would be a term, but you can't guess how something will land on someone, and how, like the breakup cases, like you can't really you can't really influence how one will receive that, and there's not much that you can do about it. But I think having been on one's shoe and having to go through these situations of, like the example that I described about the parking lot, I think this becomes a important life learning. At least for me, it made me a maybe more kind person, or more mindful of how my actions can impact someone on the other side, for um, for the date being an equalizing situation, that you've been through that, and you're causing to others something that you've been through as well. So I don't know. I think it as I said before, I think I feel that it has made me a better person than I was 7 years ago. Probably maybe worse person in some aspects, but 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 let's not go
What?
into that.
Why do you say that? You're already
Yeah,
self-deprecating.
exactly. No, I think
Where does this come from?
no, I don't know. I'm not aware of what that what negative date can bring in one person. I think generally I'm only familiar with the positive aspects of it.
Have you had any like really bad dates?
Yeah, I think one that I remember was a girl that was, yeah, extremely sarcastic and criticizing me a lot from the very first 2 minutes that we bumped into it, that we met each other. Like we scheduled a date uh, in a bar that doesn't exist here anymore. But anyway, we I arrived there, and I think she didn't. At least she didn't. Her pictures were very different from her in person, and then she was also already came across as a bit grumpy and making some very acid comments about me, asking if my sunglasses were fake. Or I don't know why I was wearing sunglasses, but anyway, no, it was, I had them. Anyway, she so I thought it was going to last 30 seconds or 1 minute and we were going to walk away, but it turned out that a bunch of friends of mine showed up at the same bar because there was a World Cup match happening, and they coincidentally asked to join our table, and they became friends with her, and we ended up staying together the whole evening. But it just, okay, it's not as bad as it can be. But after drinking a lot, we actually started making out. Well, we started kissing, and we ended up sleeping together. But and yeah, but obviously next day, I remember why we hadn't clicked, or how we didn't click at all in the beginning. But anyway, I think it could have been worse. But yeah, I don't know, waking up by the side of someone that you completely don't like and don't click, it wasn't a very nice experience. Other than that, yeah, I think this is one that I always think about. But other than that, nothing too tragic or too horrible.
Anything else that was memorable?
Yeah, I think many were memorable. Actually, I just had a very nice date now while I was traveling in Georgia. Like, I met someone randomly in a cafe, and we exchanged numbers, and we planned to have dinner on the next day, and it just felt like on the next day when we met for dinner, we noticed that we had a lot in common, even though we come from a complete different reality, and had we had very similar concerns about politics or about things that were happening in her country, and about some things that are meaningful to me. She showed me a lot about her city. Like, we hung out a lot, and we ended up sitting in a square until 5 in the morning, and I had to work the next day. Yeah, we scheduled we had another date on the next day, and then I had to leave the country. But I left, yeah, of course, with feeling quite was heartbroken to be leaving. But yeah, it also reminded me of how wonderful it is that humans can be so have so much in common, even having a complete different story, or coming from a complete other side of the world. And actually, we also had quite some 8 years of difference age-wise and worked in completely different industries. And yeah, I just think that dates provide us this chance of, of seeing this, as I said earlier, of having a glimpse of what is the life like of another person. And yeah, it would have been wonderful if it had worked out, but I think both of us had it clear that it wasn't going to turn into a relationship.
And why is that?
Well, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I would be keen on a long distance relationship and nowadays. And I think also from her side, I think at least in that sense, I think we're comfortably aligned in terms of expectations, which I think makes things much more relaxed in circumstance. I think that's sometimes one of my only fears or regrets that I feel when I get into a relationship seriously, that maybe that puts a bit too much weight on expectations, is that I find the single life so beautiful that it confronts you with this randomness of meeting people out of nothing. And for a relationship to be worth, or for me to be worth giving up on this adventure that life presents me, I expect it to be at least make me not think about giving up on this, because sorry, I'm not a problem just explaining it
No, I
very
love it.
well. Yeah, I just value so much the situations that I don't feel, and I ask myself when I'm beginning to be in a relationship and I'm in doubt, I ask myself, do I like this person? Of course, that's a question that anyone would ask, but I ask, do I like it enough I would want, I would be not be thinking about the experiences that I'm giving up on, or that I'm accepting that I won't be living.
I'm curious, why does getting into a relationship for you mean or have to mean giving up on the randomness and the other things of your single life? Why do you think this?
Yeah, you're totally right. It it doesn't have to, but I think, yeah, maybe it's a bit of too. Well, to be fair, I noticed that even when traveling with friends or doing things with friends, I find myself more close to contacting others, or I find myself, even if there's no demand of exclusivity, we are too focused on each other to be engaging with others, or starting conversations with strangers, or to talk to the waiter. Yeah, at least that's how that's my impression, even when I'm spending time with friends in a festival, or things like that. And with a relationship, it is often similar, and it doesn't have necessarily to be like that. I fully agree. Yeah, at least in my previous experiences, in most cases, it was a bit of a situation that monopolizes your attention as opposed to the world around you, which is fine and is great, but when you want to.
Do you think it's possible to do it differently?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think, yeah, there's so many forms of relationships, and yeah, to be frank, or to be frank, I haven't tried open relationships. No, I've tried uncommitted relationships, but I wouldn't call that an open relationship. But yeah, I think I think engaging with others in first place doesn't imply romantically engaging with others at all. I just mean in terms of attention, or where your attention goes to. And yeah, I think things can be different, but it just depends on, well, what the other person's behavior would be like. For example, this person that I was dating, she mentioned that she wouldn't be interested in having new friends, and she would find it strange if I would make too many new friends, especially female. But that alone maybe wouldn't lead me to break up. But that was one of the yellow or red flags to me, think that 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 there were expectations of a bit of affectional exclusivity or friendship exclusivity. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't shock me so much because I think in Brazil, where I come from, relationships often seem to be very much like that. And of course, I've been away for a long time, but couples do everything together and really inform each other where they are. There's often not much of traveling with people from work or at least that's how it felt back when I lived there. And that's maybe it doesn't feel so abnormal to me that one asks that, but maybe that created a good boogeyman in my in my in my imagination.
When is your next date?
I'm going to a wine festival with this lady that I'm seeing. Yeah, we went on 2 dates since last week. We met last Sunday, and then we met this past Saturday, and then we agreed to go to a wine. Oh, I don't think it's a festival or a tasting with some friends of hers. So it sounds very serious to me, or that. But again, yeah, you see that we're moving to milestones because why going out to wine something with her friends means a milestone at all. I think it just so I'm actually maybe one could feel scared about, oh, we're gonna meet your friends after 2 dates. Why not? It doesn't mean anything. Maybe we're not going anywhere, but I really enjoy her company. And I don't think it's going to work out romantically, but I'm loving the dates. The 2 days that we had together were very like seeing her. I think I learned a lot in the chats with her. Like she understands a lot about natural wines, which I don't understand anything about. So in the worst case, I learned a bit about that from her, and I'm looking forward to seeing her again.
Cool. That sounds really nice. The last question. Do you have any advice or words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
I think for someone who would be getting into dating apps or who have been away from this dating world for some time, I think one might feel intimidated or feel hurt about the impersonality of some situations like ghosting or people sending you very short messages or not or taking 5 days to reply. And I think my advice would be that I think we all go through this. At least that's what I hear from those who are also going into dates. Just don't not take bad situations personal. And I don't know, focus on the positive and beautiful things that you can get out of dates and all the fun time that you can have by knowing strangers, even if it's not going to be someone who be you're going to be romantically involved with. But I don't know, it's just beautiful to meet other people and especially if it's people who are like-minded with you. Or actually not that, sorry, I would correct that because I think meeting people who are different from you is equally interesting, maybe even more interesting. So I think there's no I think it's I find it positive in any case. It's maybe that's why I struggled to find an example of a bad date, because I think even this bad date example that I gave, I wouldn't do anything differently. And I think I can't think of a date that I would undo in my life. I think everything was worth it.
Dating Log is recorded and hosted by me, Wyndham Juno. It is produced by Harry Dark. Our artwork is in collaboration with Esme Hemming Studio. You can follow us on Instagram at Dating Log Podcast. Our website is datinglogpodcast.com. And if you'd like to send us a message, you can slide into our Instagram DMs or email us at datinglogpodcast@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're enjoying the episode so far, leave a review and tell a friend. We'll be back in a fortnight with the next episode. Please don't ghost us.